How should we respond to the death of George Floyd and the protests that have fanned out across the States and further since then? I can close my eyes and land on just about any piece of earth, and I'll most likely be putting my finger on a bit of the globe where there is long-standing disruptive injustice taking place. So how then as Christians should we respond? What should we do? Let me suggest three things we might do. One thing not to do and two steps to take. One thing not to do is just to remain silent and say nothing. The Duchess of Sussex was speaking to those graduating from her former class in Los Angeles, and she muses how she just didn't quite know what to say to speak into all that's going on in the States at the moment. But she comes to a point where she says this: I realised the only wrong thing to say is to say nothing, because George Floyd's life mattered. Philando Castile's life mattered. Terence Crutcher's life mattered. Michael Brown's life mattered. Alton Sterling's life mattered. She's quite right, isn't she? The one thing we mustn't do is remain silent. We might not know quite what to say, but don't say nothing. There have been times when we, the church, have been silent, when we needed to speak out. We needed to say something. So speak out. Let your friends and family and work colleagues hear you fighting against injustice, to speak out against the wrongs that are taking place. So one thing not to do, don't remain silent. And two steps to take, one more vertically and one more horizontally. Lament the injustice. Listen to Psalm 94 and verse 3. How long, Lord, how long will the wicked be jubilant? When we lament, what are we doing? We're bringing a prayer of pain before God and bringing our complaint to him. And in Psalm 94, we see the psalmist getting specific, naming the injustices. Verse 4 speaks of those who pour out arrogant words, and evildoers are full of boasting, crushing God's people, oppressing the inheritance, slaying the widow and the foreigner, murdering the fatherless. So get specific, name the injustices before God. It's wrong for a handcuffed, unarmed man to have a police officer putting his knee on his neck for 9 minutes while he shouts, I can't breathe. It's wrong for persons made in God's image to be treated as inferior or unwelcome or a threat just because of the colour of their skin. It's wrong for an unarmed man to be chased down and shot by private citizens. Lament the injustices, name them before God. Lament the injustices, and then more at a horizontal level, educate yourself. I wonder whether we've taken the time to understand the anger felt by so many in the States and further afield. Martin Luther King once said this: rioting is the language of the unheard. So, will we take time to listen? What's it like to be black or an ethnic minority in our city or in our church? Have we listened to others speaking about white privilege? Here's how we might think of white privilege. White privilege is an invisible package of unearned assets which I can count on cashing in each day. An invisible package of unearned assets which I can count on cashing in each day. Peggy McIntosh has contributed to a paper that the Methodist Church had put together, and she fleshes that out a little bit, what white privilege looks like for her. She says this: I can, if I wish, arrange to be in the company of people of my race most of the time. I can go shopping alone most of the time, pretty well assured I won't be followed or harassed. Whether I use credit cards or cash, I can count on my skin colour not working against the appearance of my financial reliability. So what might we do as we hear about the protests going on, as we see them spilling across the globe, as we feel the injustice in our world? Well, one thing not to do: don't remain silent. And two things to start: lament the injustice and educate yourself.